Hello all, I'm Scarp SCS, but that's not important right now, as in this episode of Cogs, Gears and Optic Sensors, we're looking at the Crisis in Command storyline, which launched Marvel UK stories straight into 1986 with the arrival of none other than Transformers franchise artist extraordinaire Geoff Senior, ably scripted by both Mike Ladybird Collins and James Hill, who's credited with bringing Megatron's gladiatorial origins to the franchise in the 1986 State Games Pro story. Senior's art is also a perfect fit for the now pretty much finalised character designs that the UK office now seems to be working from. The first thing you'll spot on the very first panel of the very first page is a cartoon inspired arc, the likes of which we've not yet seen in the UK book. And there are further cartoon inspired elements in the story as a whole, with Ravage sneaking onto the Ark, getting captured by Mirage and Hound before escaping across the desert later on in one of the chapters. So we're in familiar territory, but the writers still add their own flair, mentioning the absence of the Dinobots as the weekly format that allows the UK scribes to tie up loose ends that the monthly schedule of the US book just doesn't have the capacity for. But the point of this story, of course, is to properly follow up on the impact of Optimus Prime's capture at the hands of Shockwave, and really does, in my opinion, set up the differences between him here and his cartoon counterpart, as he's not the stoic leader we've come to expect, but one plagued by self doubt. Now, don't forget, he indirectly gave life to the Constructicons, and that's probably going to affect his character quite a bit. Comic book Optimus tried to end the war way back in issue 1 of the US book by purposefully crashing the Ark into a planet, but it didn't work. Cartoon Optimus and his crew crash landed after they were boarded by the Decepticons. Now, you could construe that Cartoon Optimus would have happily sailed past the Earth, whilst Comic book Optimus is solely responsible for the Transformers' presence on it. But to add to his woes, the Autobots now seem to be questioning their leader in a way they've not done previously. We've had very little to this point of Prime being with his team. He's literally been ahead, captured by Shockwave. And previously, he's kind of been written as just issuing orders, a very autocratic Autobot, if you will. Now, the cause of this all comes down to what we refer to as the matrix of leadership, although that concept admittedly wouldn't be refined until the movie at the end of the year, with the US book having introduced the Autobots as having the capability to bring new Transformers to life. How are they always seemingly on the back foot to the Decepticons? And I don't know about anybody else, but I see quite a resemblance to Sunstreaker's head sculpt against what poor Optimus envisions. Sunstreaker, of course, is still sidelined and will be for a while. But it's not all polished plating and fresh energon at Camp Con either, as Soundwave asserts his authority over Starscream, who falls into character type stating why he would be best suited to lead, much to Soundwave's displeasure. Soundwave, of course, being the third Decepticon commander we've seen, and Starscream still not managed to take over yet. So this chapter finishes with Ravage escaping the Ark and vanishing into the darkness of the night, with Soundwave's exact plan still yet unrevealed to the readers. It's a pretty strong start so far, but as we move into chapter 2 now, Prowl, you can see, kind of where his IDW incarnations were inspired from, with a hesitant Optimus very much resisting Prowl's the ends justify the means approach. With Optimus paralysed by indecision, Bumblebee overhears them, clearly not doing a very good job of the scout portion of his bio and his tech specs, and it struck me as a rarely used Autobot second in command, as opposed to how we usually see Starscream, his advice wanted or not. Bumblebee's concern about Prowl's undue influence on Optimus spurs him into action, and effectively the rest of the story, and it's depictions like this that cement him as a fan favourite in my eyes, and there are parallels with Transport to Oblivion as Bumblebee races across the desert. Soundwave's plan, though, is spelled out by Skywarp, not always one who gets the exposition monologues, which was to allow Ravage to get caught, then escape, leading any pursuing Autobots into a trap.
It's a trap!
Which leads us into Senior's centrepiece of the chapter, as Bumblebee holds his own against the still online Decepticon roster, with only the Constructicons being conspicuous by their omission, but possibly due to the fact their toys weren't available in the UK and sadly never were. Now, a fun bit of trivia talking about Senior is that we won't see him on interior pencil duties again until Target 2006, a full 9 months later in the September of that year. Now, I was really surprised by this when I checked the dates, as in my head he'd done so much more, but the stories he's worked on have been so iconic, it's probably why we revere them so much. Optimus, though, realizes Bumblebee has gone out after Ravage alone, without backup or letting anyone know where he is, and quickly followed by an anomalous flying Autobot life signal detected approaching the Ark. As the Autobots rush outside, they see none other than Laserbeak. But it becomes quickly apparent as he drops Bumblebee's arm down onto the ground in front of them, as Prime asks, "Bumblebee, what have they done to you?" Which I would suggest is obvious to even Cyberverse Perceptor.
I believe I can help you with that. There, you are free.
Why didn't you do that before?
I didn't know if it would work. Also, it burnt out my optics. I can no longer see.
What?
Chapter 3, though, gives us a new penciler in the form of John Stokes of Decepticon Dambusters fame, and who produced some now iconic work for the annual. And we'll quietly gloss over Sunstreaker being present on the first page and just put it down to a simple art error. This last chapter is where all the action happens, and accepting that this is an action franchise, Optimus shifts things up a gear from the indecisiveness we saw previously and goes on a solo mission to dispatch the Decepticons, which does make you wonder why he keeps the rest of the Autobots around at all. Now, we also get some classic Starscream characterization as he goes into full-on coward mode, as Optimus pummels him into submission before liberating Bumblebee from the clutches of the interim Decepticon commander Soundwave. The final page, though, sees Optimus back on form, reasserting his position as leader. But as he comes to the conclusion that using the Matrix just to build more Transformers would be unethical, now, as the 1986 toy line plays out, he's going to get a message from that very MacGuffin telling him to do just that. So that, folks, is a quick rundown of Crisis in Command. And as always, we'll finish off by looking at the covers. Issue 42 featuring Ravage by Will Simpson. Issue 43 with a slightly worried looking Bumblebee by John Ridgway. And issue 44 with the Seekers and Optimus. Now, whilst this story was collected again in 1988 with this cover by Robin Smith, it wasn't seen again until 2011 in IDW's classic UK line. So, where did you encounter Geoff Senior's Transformers art? Here or on Target 2006? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching along, and if you like this video, then please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. If you didn't like it, leave one anyway. If you want to come and say hi on social media, you can find me here. But whatever you do, folks, stay safe.